Hey everybody, thank you for watching this video. I kind of wanted to show kind of the convergence of two of my loves, and that is music, specifically the subcategory of record collecting, and writing code. I'm a software engineer, at least, well, I was until I got laid off recently. And I love writing code. And here's how these converged. Those of you who listen to my podcast, my weird record collection, you heard me talk about this site before, discogs.com. You can keep track of your audio and video media through this. It's to me personally, I like it better than just using a spreadsheet because, for one thing, Discogs has a phone app, so I could pull it up on my phone when I'm out and about. And another thing, Discogs gets a lot more granular. And one thing I want to show you in particular, I'm going to go into the dashboard here and pull up something from my collection. Thanksgiving weekend 2001, I was out doing some shopping and I found an album called Animalism, which I had on CD. It's a great album by the Animals. That's a great rock and roll, right? Good raw rock. And I'm like, oh man, this would be great if I had it on vinyl. So I bought it. And when I got it home, I realized, oh crap, I actually already have this on vinyl. So I did well, I will listen to both copies and pick which one sounds better game. And so the one that I had just bought that day sounded significantly better in terms of mastering and everything. Both sounded clean. There weren't any clicks or pops or anything. But the newer one that I bought sounded a lot better. And it turned out that it was pressed in a different factory from the other one, and that factory had the better pressing. You can learn which factory pressed the record by going to discogs.com. And or if you're seeking out a very specific pressing, like let's say you want to copy a Pet Sounds, but it's specifically made in Hollywood, well, guess what? Discogs can help you with that. Your spreadsheet probably can't. But I don't want to sound any what's the word, condescending or anything. I just wanted to mention that. And also, I have one central place, of course, where I can find everything. And now, the whole point of me showing you this video, doing this video, is that I do something. Well, actually, before I do that, let me show you something else. I did recently get a record that I have not yet added to my Discogs collection. It's called Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown by the Vince Guaraldi Trio, or maybe it's just Vince Guaraldi. I don't know if there's a trio or what. Let's see, Guaraldi. Oh, there it is. Okay. And by the way, for those of you not familiar with Discogs, master release, if it shows up as a master release, it means this is the main listing that contains every known version of the title. So this tells me there's more than one version, so I'm going to go down and see what versions there are. Oh, here we go. Pink Puppy Love. That's the version that I got. I wanted the Bleeding Heart red vinyl, but that was not available when I got this. So here it is. This tells you so much information here, everything known. This is all entered by users. There's no single authority doing this. All the credits. If there's anything etched in the vinyl at the end, it'll tell you here. Like right here, run out. This tells you that these numbers are etched in the vinyl. So that way you can also identify which variation of this particular release you have, not just the release. But hey, I have this. I'm going to add it to my collection. I know that I opened it, so it is not in mint condition. Mint condition means it's untouched, never opened. This is opened, it's near mint. So I'm going to rate both the media and the sleeve. For notes, I'm going to put down when I bought it. I remember buying this on February 9th because I remember thinking, oh, it's the anniversary of the Beatles and the Sullivan Show. And I got it from barnesandnoble.com because, hey, I had just been laid off, but I wanted this record. Turns out I had a gift card from Barnes & Noble that I hadn't used yet. And new vinyl is expensive. So yeah, $32.99 with gift card. And folder, I set up different folders. This is going to go under show tunes. Now, here's the thing. Here's the whole reason for my making this video. Washed. Whenever a new record, well, I shouldn't say new, but whenever a record comes into my home, I will not play it until I wash the thing. I use the Spin Clean. I've mentioned this on my podcast a few times. It's a yellow plastic box. And actually, there's a Beatles edition, too, that comes in red or blue, I believe. Same price, by the way. But you get everything you see here, except only one bottle of cleaner. I think it's the smaller one. You get all that for $80. And this is a plastic container that you fill to the top line with ideally distilled water. And then you pour a capful of the Spin Clean fluid into the solution. See these little round things here? You set those up on either side. There are notches that you can set those things in. There are notches that will allow you to wash 7-inch records, 10-inch records, and 12-inch records. So you put them in the proper notches for whatever record it is you're washing. You stick the record in just like you see here, and you spin it around 3 complete rotations. And then you do it again backwards, 3 complete rotations. And what happens, you see these brushes here, they are stuck inside the box in slots, and the brushes will rub up against the vinyl and wipe out grime and dirt and whatever else have you. And the cleaning solution will cause that all those particles to sink to the bottom. So it's really cool. And a lot of people ask, well, what about the label? Does the label get wet? Well, it might, but I can tell you from personal experience, the label will not be damaged by this. This works also equally well with your old school shellac records, believe it or not. And what I usually do is if I'm washing 12-inch records, I will put them in a record rack that I bought that holds 9 records, and I let them drip dry. I also see these fluffy white cloths. You want to wipe your record down with those things too, just to speed up the drying process. By the way, sometimes you have to do it multiple times. Like case in point, some records that I inherited from my dad after he died a few years ago. He was a big smoker, so there's a lot of tobacco stains on those things. I had to run them through several times. Ugh. But yeah, and for 7-inch records, I usually stick them in our dish strainer because they fit perfectly. And they dry pretty quickly too, so that's pretty cool. So what I usually do is take my laptop into the kitchen and clean my records there. I'll usually do them in batches of 9 or more per session. And as I clean them, I'll go into discogs.com and I'll edit the thing and I'll put the date that I washed them. So let's say I washed them today, which is St. Patrick's Day. I'll go in and I'll do that. So there. That is a custom field that I made. Discogs allows you to have some custom fields. I didn't actually wash it, so I'll take the date out. So I put in a text field for washed. Then what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll look for another item in my collection. And let's see, I'll just go back to my collection. Oh, there you see. And what I would usually do is go through and find records that do not have dates in there. You can see it's a little bit tedious, especially because you got to go through pages of material and hope to find something. And the computer nerd in me said, I wonder if discogs.com has an API. So I poked around a bit and look at that API. Those of you who are not software developers who don't know about this, an API is something that the makers of a piece of software might make available for people like me who like to write their own code. Like, let's say you want to do an iPhone app and you want to incorporate some functionality that discogs.com has. Well, they make some functionality available in what's called an application programmer interface, or API. They tell you what functionality is there, how you can use it in your own programs. So if you want to do an iPhone app or do a web app or whatever, it's there for you. And again, these are usually limited, and unfortunately, discogs.com has a limit as well as to what you can do with their stuff. So I looked in to see if maybe I could just whip up some PHP code. That's a web programming language. For those of you who don't know, it's a web programming language. It's used as of November 24th, not November 24th, November of 2024. It is used in 77% of the websites out there. So pretty common language. Python is also common, but I'm kind of a beginner with Python, so I like to stick with PHP just for now. I'll probably redo this in Python, but right now I did some PHP code that will help me with my washing, and I'll show you how it works. This is I didn't put this on a server up there because, long story short, I just didn't feel like going through all the rigmarole. So I have this running off my own computer. So what I can do is I can take my laptop or ideally my phone. The Discogs.com phone app is not very conducive to what I'm doing. It's doable, but it's not very helpful. So this is why I designed this little web thing you're seeing. Let's say I'm going to go into the kitchen, wash a bunch of records. Well, I'll take my phone or maybe my laptop in there, ideally my phone, and I'll go to update wash dates. What this is going to do is go through my entire collection and pull out anything that does not have this little, where is it? That does not have this washed field populated. So I'll show you what that looks like now. This surprises me. 13th floor elevators, Bowl of the Woods. I know for a fact that I washed it. Wonder if I did something wrong here. So I'll do a search for 13th floor elevators just to make sure. See if one thing that happened is either I programmed this wrong or I simply forgot to mark that I washed that record. And yeah, there's no wash date, but I know for a fact that everything I bought at Beverly Records, I washed. But when did I wash them? Well, I bought them on January 4th. I know I did not wash them on that day because I was out all night until I picked my wife up at the airport and then went to bed. So what else did I buy at Beverly Records? Oh, this one. And this one's washed. Okay, so the Sounds of Sign-On I bought at Beverly Records. And I washed it on January. I washed all of them in one batch, so I know that for a fact. So here's what I can do. I have 3 clickable buttons here that I used the Bootstrap front end library to make them all look nice. If you're a programmer, you know what Bootstrap is probably. I have 3 options. I have no, which I'll get to in a second, but since I washed the date, I have 2 options for date washing. Either today, if I click the today button, it's just going to populate with today's date and I'm done. This is what ideally is going to happen when I'm washing records in the kitchen. In fact, I'll show you what happens. I'm going to click today and this is reloading. And look, it disappeared. Why? Because, well, it has a date attached to it now. So it shouldn't show up. So let me refresh. And this should have today's date. And there it is. Yep. But I know it wasn't that date that I washed it. So I'm going to take it out and I'm going to refresh again. This takes a long time. It's not because of Discogs.com. Like the response from Discogs.com from their API is really super fast. But the thing is, the information they send you, first of all, you have to get everything. You can't just say, okay, give me such and such give me these records that weren't washed on a certain date. You actually have to pull your entire collection and then write your own code to filter it. And the code that I wrote, unfortunately, because of the nature of what Discogs.com sends back, requires a lot of crazy array handling and things. But Bowl of the Woods, I did not wash today. I washed on January 9th. So I'm going to click on this button that says when. And I'm going to get a little modal, by the way. Those of you who don't know, whenever you see a pop-up window that doesn't let you do, I guess that one does let you do anything. But whenever you see a pop-up window that basically prevents you from generally prevents you from interacting with anything but what's on that window. It's called a modal. So the date that I entered, actually, let me try that again. Just make sure that I got, okay. So that was actually January 9th, 2025. I'm going to submit the date. And this should refresh without Bowl of the Woods. And let me go back in here and make sure that Bowl of the Woods has a clean date. Didn't show up here. Why is it not showing up? Yeah, discogs.com does not have a great interface, which is another reason I did this. And there it is. Yeah, January 9th, 2025. So great. All right, so you saw what happens if you click today. You see what happens if you click when. Now, don't wash. Here's the problem. The custom field that I put the washed in, the problem is on Discogs, it'll show up on everything, no matter the format. So what I have to do is go through and see if there's anything that shouldn't be washed. Like case in point, Feel Flows by the Beach Boys. It's a box set, and that contains nothing but CDs. I don't want to wash that. So I'm going to click no, which I have both the vinyl version, which I might actually sell off, and the CD version. Notice that it says NA. That's what the no button does. It'll populate the date field with NA. And just so you can see the before and after, I'll see if there's another one in here that I shouldn't do. Flexi disc, I don't know. I'm kind of iffy. I might or might not do it. I'll show you what happens though. Don't wash. If I click that I'm going to wash, say something that doesn't have any vinyl in it, like say a flexi disc. This is not vinyl. Are you sure you want this title washed? I'm going to tell it no for now because, yeah. And also consequently, like let's say there is vinyl involved. I'm going to click no. It's like, hey, this is vinyl. You sure you don't want to wash it? So it's like, oops, I want to wash it. So just to confirm that I'm clicking the right thing. There was something else here. Oh, here we go. Oh, not that. Where's the other? Okay. David Crosby, If I Could Only Remember My Name. I have that on CD. I don't want to wash it. Let me make sure that actually reflects that in here. David. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. That's the vinyl. That's already washed. Okay. Here's the CD. Okay. So nothing in there. Actually, I'm going to put a note in here as to where I got it. Let's see. Got via special order at Rattleback Records. There we go. So I remember that, but hey, it wasn't washed. So let's see what happens. If I Can Only Remember My Name, David Crosby, I'm going to mark that as no, don't wash. So remember that it was between Dave Loggins and David Lee Roth. And it's gone. Okay, great. So let me reload this in discogs.com and make sure. Actually, see if maybe remember my name. Maybe that's a better search term here. And okay, here's this. And there we go. NA. Perfect. All right. So anything else that I should show? Oh, also here, the Doors LA Woman. That will, if I click, say when, it's not going to complain about it. Notice how it says CD and it's really a box set. It's not going to complain because it sees that there's vinyl in there that I might want to wash. So I don't get that prompt that says, are you sure you want to wash this? Well, it has vinyl. So that's Reel to Reel. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. Disinherited by Ragney and Rado. Oh, I think that's the very first item in my collection or one of the first items. Yep, there it is. Okay. Sure enough. Yep. Washed. I definitely don't want to wash that. So Reel to Reel. No. Yeah. Do not wash magnetic tape. And I don't have a Reel to Reel deck. So that makes it even more fun. And I'm going to reload, and this now should reflect that it should not be Yep, NA. Great. Okay, so that's what I did in the code, or that's the code that I wrote. I'll get to the dirty details for software engineer folks in a moment. But something else that I did is I noticed before, in fact, let me go through here again. See here? See that date here? 5/20/2022. Yes, I'm American. But the thing is, when you export the data, which I do from time to time, because you never know if discogs.com can go away and I lose track of all my collection, I can export it as a spreadsheet. If I have like 1/9/2025, it might actually be sorted by one as opposed to by the year. So I'm starting to go back and change the dates to this format. So I'm like, oh, that's going to be a headache. Well, guess what? I can use their API to fix those dates. So I also put in a feature so that I could go through and see if there are any dates. Okay, so let me see. Alice's Restaurant has the date in month, date, year format. And I know my European friends are cringing right now over that. So let me just do a search for Alice's Restaurant. Okay, so it reflects exactly what is in the field. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, let's see, Alice's Restaurant. Where are you? Oh, that's right. It's under Arlo Guthrie. Duh. Reformat. And Alice's Restaurant should no longer show up after this is done. And look at that. There's no, and let me just make sure, just for fun, Alice's Restaurant should no longer be there, or it'll show up with a newly reformatted date, actually. So, all right. I'll just put restaurant. There we go. Alice's Restaurant. Hey, look, the date was reformatted. Isn't that awesome? So that's something that I did with discogs.com's API, and now I'll show you how I did it. Warning for those of you who aren't software developers, we're going to get really super nerdy here. So if you want to follow along, great. If you don't, then don't. And let me refresh that because I see a problem already that I fixed. There we go. So I have like a documentation here in my GitHub repository. My GitHub username is Scattered Frog. This tells you what languages are involved. There's 71% PHP, 16% HTML, JavaScript. There's a little bit there, and CSS. So basic. Those are your basic web languages right there. So the index file looks like this here. You'll see where I'm pulling in Bootstrap. And let's see, I have some CSS in here, pretty basic. And let's see, here's what the CSS looks like. There's not much to it, really, but I might add on to all this. So I have, here's all the formatting here. Images, all it has is just that one image that you see on the front page there. And what else have I? If you click on the option that says, hey, I'm washing records, I want to update the dates, then it loads this wash.php file. So, in this file, we load some jQuery on here because it was just a lot easier to deal with jQuery than to use all the what they call vanilla JavaScript. I hate that term vanilla in terms of JavaScript because vanilla implies there's no flavor. Vanilla is a flavor, people. Come up with a better term. Just say raw JavaScript. But anyway, going through here, what I found was that when I was doing this code and the code to change the date was that I was really repeating a lot of code. And there's a concept in software engineering called DRY, dry, don't repeat yourself. So a lot of that code that I was repeating, I extracted and put them, say, in partials here. Like here's the code that actually retrieves the stuff from discogs.com. Oh, goody. And now everybody can see my app name. That's okay. I don't care. So I got that there. Good thing I don't have my token handy because they give you a token that you plug in that you cannot make any changes without. So you kind of need that sucker. And here's the URL for what I was doing before. Now, the problem with discogs.com is it's paginated. And so what I had to do was actually make several calls to discogs.com and store my collection in an array and build that array with every single time I was calling the API. And I'll show you where that's happening. So it starts here. Here's the result. It's adding in, it says here, we're going to keep calling the API until there are no more pages left. So, going to assign result to whatever I get back from the API, which is this stuff right here. And the API sends back an array that has a node called releases. That's going to have all the titles. So I'm going to iterate through every title, every release. And I'm going to go through and look and see if there is a field ID that has the ID of 4, because in my case, that washed field has a field ID of 4 in their API. If it is populated right here, basically, if it does not equal false, then I'm going to continue and go on to the next one, not do anything with it. However, if it is not populated at all, then it gets added to this array called release. And what this code is doing here is it's looking to see if there's another page of releases to go through. And basically what happens is the result array will have its own pagination array within it. So it's going to check and see if it has a next. And if it does, well, guess what? It's going to go into whatever the URL is that is held by this particular array, and then start the process all over again until there are no more of these left. And once it's all there, the curl request is going to be closed. So there we go. And now that we have everything, we can start building the table. And thanks to Bootstrap, we have a nice looking table instead of just a plain old boring HTML table. And this is where things get really hairy here, because for one thing, the trick that I did was here, the first thing I show is the artist. Here's where the PHP is building the artist column in the table. It's dropping in the name of the artist. And also condense artists. What is that? That is a function that I wrote that I put in a helper functions file. Where do I have that? Oh, helpers. Condense artists, because the artists are sent in an array instead of a string, simply because a record may literally have more than one artist. So what I'm doing in this condense artist thing is I'm looping through every artist and then putting them in a displayable HTML text right here, hence the breaking space right there. So that's what's happening there. It's building the what's going to show as the artists. In fact, let me see if I can show you an example of where you can see multiple artists in action right here. All right. Oh, right here. Bill Medley, Jennifer Warnes, Mickey, and Sylvia. Those were all entered as separate artists. Going on to the next little piece of code, we have the title. Format title. Okay, that's a function that I came up with too, because the title is also sent in an array, and there might be more than one title involved. So I have something similar going on, except it's a little bit more complicated, and I'll show you exactly why. First thing we do is we check to see if it's an LP, album, or EP, or extended play. Why? Because something you'll notice here is that for singles, they're in quotation marks. For albums, they're in italics. Am I doing that because I'm a grammar snob? Well, not really. I am a grammar snob, and I am very insistent about formatting things properly, but also let me show you something in my collection here. It is by the late Robin McNamara, who I can tell you from personal experience was a really, really nice guy. I was heartbroken when he died. There's lay a little lovin' on me here, and there's lay a little lovin' on me there. One is a album, the other is a single. So that way, I want to know which lay a little lovin' on me that I'm dealing with. I want to know whether it's the single or the album. If it's in quotes, I know it's a single. If it's in italics, I know it's an album. But what about, say, Speaking of Her by Adam Wade, George Paxton, and his orchestra? Well, let me pull up something here. Let's see, George. Here we go. It does not have the word single in it, unlike this other Adam Wade song. So I don't really know for sure that it's necessarily a single, because whoever entered it did not indicate that it's a single. And that's a problem with Discogs.com. Sometimes they don't tell you whether it's a 7-inch or a single or a 45 RPM. So for those kind of things, I didn't know what to do with, so I just left it alone, did not format it at all. There are no quotes, there are no italics. So there you have it. Another problem is, notice how this one, they put both the A side and the B side on the title. For Stand By Me and Yakety Yak, they did the same thing. But whoever entered Speaking of Her did not put the B side as part of the title, which is another problem. Another reason that I need that distinction with italics and quotation marks. So that's why the italics is there, and that's why the quotation marks are there. But so, yeah, you can kind of see why it takes a long time for the table to build, because there's all kinds of processing going on. And of course, I'm always willing to listen to ideas as to why certain things are handled the way they are. And we do something similar with a format field, except I didn't put it in a separate. I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't put that in a separate function that I just kind of outsourced. But we're building up the thing, because the reason I did that, and the whole reason they send the format in an array, is simply because, hey, what if you have a multi-disc set? Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life, it has different formats in it. It has two 12-inch long-playing records and one 7-inch EP. So this way I'm building up a list of everything that format contains. For this hidden field, what I'm doing is I'm sticking in the instance ID, because the instance, I don't know exactly what the instance ID is, but Discogs.com needs it for the API. So I'm kind of passing the instance ID in a hidden field so that I can grab it later when I'm doing some processing. Here's the NA button, the one that says don't watch this. What I'm doing is I'm attaching a value to that button that says NA underscore followed by the instance ID underscore followed by the release ID. And what I'm going to do is, when I click that button, I'm going to be passing that to some PHP code that's going to detect. Let me see. Oh, not all my code is up here. Huh. I'm going to have to do something about that. But there's some separate code that handles that format with those underscores, and it splits them up and determines, okay, I'm going to let me see. What am I trying to say here? Going down here. Like, for example, if I have a value of ED, it's going to know, okay, ED, enter date. We know that the user has just entered a date manually. If it says today underscore, the PHP is going to see that today. It's going to say, okay, it says today, so we're just going to automatically generate today's date, stick it in. So yeah, I would love to show you that too, by the way, but unfortunately I don't have that in my GitHub repo, so I'm going to have to put that later. So that's kind of the gist of how all that works here. What else I'm going to do here is show you the fixed dates PHP here. Same thing. It's retrieving the collection again and building an array. The array is not quite as complicated this time because I only need a few things. But yeah, you can see, in fact, let me see. Yeah, require retrieve collection that's being pulled in from over there. Config.php. Yeah, I put that in there because, well, I didn't want everybody to see my secret information. Like, my username is Scattered Frog. I don't care. Do what you want with that. But the token from the app is going to be what tells Discogs.com, hey, we're okay to write to this person's collection. I don't want the world futzing with my collection. I didn't put the code anywhere on a server or anything. It's running off my own computer, but still. So items per page. Remember I said that the Discogs paginates your collection when you request it over the API. So I have to, basically what this is saying is grab 100 items before the next pagination. That is the maximum that Discogs.com allows. The bigger the number, the fewer times you have to call the API. And you want to reduce the number of API calls as much as possible. You can plug in like 80 billion if you want. It's still going to max out at 100. But I just kept that at 100. Now this code here, that's the little symbol that shows up if my code detects a problem. Like say I want to wash something that's not vinyl. Like say, do I have anything that doesn't have any vinyl in here? Flexi disc. So I'll put that in here. See those little error symbols? Well, that's what this code is. I didn't want to type. Notice that I have that typed, or that I have that in there twice. And also I have it in there not just there, but also when I click today. So that would mean that I have to put all that crap in there 4 times. So instead I assigned it to a variable, so that way I only have to put the variable in there a couple of times. App name is simply what you want to call your app. When you reach out to the Discogs.com API, you're going to say, hey, here's the name of my app. You can put, as far as I can tell, you can put whatever the heck you want in there. But that gives you at least a partial idea of how I wrote this. Also, the modals, these same modals also appear in the fixed dates thing. Well, at least 2 of them do, or maybe one of them. The error modal shows up. The error modal is going to show up if there is literally a problem that needs to be addressed, like a bug in the code. So you did not see that because I did not have a bug. So that's pretty cool there that you didn't need to see that. But yeah, so if there is a bug, like if Discogs.com goes down or something while I'm trying to reformat a date, then it'll come back and say, hey, there was a problem, and it'll try to tell me as best as possible what that problem is. But so that's what I use Discogs.com for, to keep track of washing. And for you who like to look at code, you have an idea. And of course, you can always go straight to my GitHub repository. It's Scattered Frog is my username. So there you go. Thank you for watching.